Welcome to Rauta City 5. This time I have, once again, 5 different releases, 5 different styles, and these are rather old ones. Some are years old, some are like 2019 or so. So these have been here waiting for their turn because obvious reasons. Nowhere near to be hurry around with not being recent releases. So, alphabetical order is the name of the game. Let's do it and I'll explain you on the way what is going on. This one is from a band called Choschech. I don't know how to pronounce it. And the label, the title of the album is actually the same. It's done in Hebrew letters, I guess. Hebrew name, which I guess, or at least what I understood is darkness in English. Technically speaking, this is a one-man project, which is by a man who used to play in a various black metal bands and wanted to do something else. I don't know if he still plays in those bands, that's beyond the scope of this video, but he wanted to have this project because wanted to kind of do something different. And here you have the basic information, thank you lists and whatever, and there is the name of people involved and stuff like that. Now, this is the kind of a combination that doesn't really fall into one particular genre box. That is, this is kind of like post-metal meeting with some kind of a post-rock, meeting with a little bit of an experimental or progressive ideas. Not really easy to follow, not really easy to like enjoy it and, you know, feel catchy and all that stuff. Now, basically, this could be an interesting passion project if the song structure were more focused. Now it seems like too much different ideas spread too much all over and trying to put those pieces together over the years and make a full album. Not only that, the production is a little bit, how to say, it's not really good. But that's not the main problem. I think the music here, because of various styles and various pieces, is just too much all over. There are some parts where this is like, hey, this is pretty good. Especially if you're more like into post-rock or post-metal kind of stuff. But then again, there are like vocal parts which are like, these are off. These are not exactly good. And that combined with the very fact that, you know, the song structures, how the songs and bits are assembled, feels like this is very hard for a lot of people to get on with. I don't know, if you want something different, if you want to experiment beyond your comfort zone, your favorite genres and all that stuff, maybe go for this one. But hard to really recommend that as a blind purchase. It's tough cookie to crack. Check out the link for more information and the music samples. Then we go to Finland with a band called Celestial Grave. This is a full album released by a couple of years ago. Secular Flesh. Now this is the raw end of melodic black metal. Not exactly the kind of very catchy melodic black metal. I think this is way too raw for that. And it is kind of an interesting combination really. Because usually when you hear the kind of a melodic stuff, it's more or less kind of, for example, the Swedish style. Very easy to get on with, kind of a rock and roll patterns. Easy to like melodies and kind of easy to remember, but always so often anyways, if not always, it's kind of a mainstreamist and, you know, not exactly extreme metal. Now with Celestial Grave, it's quite different. It's as if the band is trying to pick a fight here and, you know, go for the melodies, but in a very, very raw and lo-fi ways. Now because of this is not for everybody. Not even if you're a big ass melodic black metal fan. I mean, that is, you kind of have to like the rather primitive approach to the whole genre here. And even so, some of these songs are not exactly like, wow. To be honest, this could have been a really good MCD. Now there is too much leftovers in my opinion, which makes this rather like up and down kind of a thing. There are some really nice ideas, and then there are ideas which are more like filling the gaps. And to be honest, that lo-fi production isn't really supporting the band's idea how to sound like, you know, extreme and melodic. So I find that a little bit difficult, but by no means a bad album, just an overall a bit lukewarmish for the reasons mentioned. Then we go to Quebec, Canada with a band called Issfenn, and this is the second album, Mordwand. Now, Quebecois black metal is one of my favorite things in the world, and I mean in the world of black metal anyway, and that is because most of the bands are kind of a very catchy with their melodics and still being quite extreme. A little bit in contradiction what I just said, but you will figure it out when you listen to bands such as Deletier or Fortress and stuff like that. I mean, they are really, really catchy and still feeling like more extreme than most of the Nordic black metal bands gone very melodic. But, I mean, that is up to the individual in question to figure out whether or not that statement is true. However, Issfenn is quite different. It's kind of a melodic, it's fast tempo and all that stuff, but it's not really catchy at all in my opinion. Now, this is much like Celestial Grave, having good moments here and there, but they're like dots among the field of this kind of melodic black metal. And the overall feeling is that this is way too bland and basic for most parts. And I guess that's the reason why this is released as self-financed. I mean, maybe this could have been honed to a different level, or once again, cut out the extra fat and focus on the prime meat parts, and this could have been rather interesting MCD. Now there are lots of riffs which are like, why is that even here? Why is this riff being the filler part between these two better ones and all that stuff? Production-wise, kind of a mediocrity. Raspy vocals-wise, same thing. Overall, pretty solid 6 out of 10. Can't really recommend these two unless you're a big-ass Quebecois metal fan. Not bad, but I'm not putting that into my compilation. None of those albums so far which I mentioned. Then we go to United States of America with the death metal band Lord Gore. And this one is an interesting comeback album because the band was on hiatus for quite a while. And then they came back around 2017 and released this one in 2019 if my memory serves me well. And the style here is pretty much like going back to basics, kind of a death metal. Sounding very much like typical death metal band. Not exactly super brutal, but nothing like, hey, let's do some kind of a, deathcore or melodic death metal and stuff like that. This is like how death metal used to sound back in the 90s, both good and bad. For some people, this is exactly what they are expecting from a death metal band. There's certain kind of riffs and a little bit of melodies here there, just spice things up. Growly vocals and somewhat heavy production. Can't say none of those elements are done incorrectly here, but let's be honest about it. There are plenty of bands that do exactly the same a lot better. Of course, a lot of bands that do it worse. But Lord Gore falls into a box that is kind of a, so full of bands. Like, why would you pick just this album or this band over the others? I don't know, because there's nothing phenomenal different. I mean, everything is like, okay, it's death metal, it's pretty enjoyable, but once you've just tossed the CD away or put it back in your shelf, you're not going to remember it the next day feeling like, yeah, should I give it another spin? It's not bad. I keep repeating myself. There's nothing outstanding. Anyway, the last and definitely not least is actually the best one on this Indie 5. This one comes from Greece. It's called Nare Mataron. And this one is MCD of about 18 minutes, 4 songs. And while the band used to be a black metal band doing pretty much up and down material, some rather good ones and some rather almost horrible ones, well, at least mediocre ones in the past, this time they changed their gear, and the fires of Edelsped Zenunim, sound like I'm talking backwards, is a MCD of death metal. And this MCD is fast tempo, it's pretty heavy, it kicks you right out of the table. I don't know why you're on the table, but you get the idea. This sounds like a pretty much more modern kind of death metal. I would say roughly the same category as Behemoth's more death metallic parts. Not exactly super technical, no way. Not exactly like war metal, even though there's a presence of black metal with this death metal output. But it's more on the modern side. Not exactly old school, not exactly very trashy. It's kind of like One Trick Pony. But the good thing is, this pony is doing those 4 tracks rather nicely. They sound heavy, the growly vocals are right there nicely, and well, everything is just kind of okay. The only thing what I have problem with this album is that it's not exactly catchy or memorable. It's easy to enjoy, but pretty much like Lord Gore, you're gonna easily forget this after a while. The only difference is this is somewhat better when it comes to songwriting or interest. Maybe it's because this is only 18 minutes versus some 45 minutes. So if this would have been a full album, I don't know if it would have been a little bit more boring. But I gotta say, this is actually pretty good. So none of these are exactly great here. None of these are super bad. None of them are exactly bad. But there's a lot of lukewarm on this pile. So if I had to pick only one of these, I would say go with Nare Mataron, even if it's a death metal release and I can't really recommend it for black metal heads. If of these, black metalish releases, I guess Celestial Grave would be the one. But, check out the links provided and figure out for yourself. Your taste is different from mine, so what I like might not be your thing, and vice versa. But, once again, links provided, check out the music, and let's hope you find something worth investing in and something worth listening to. Take care and have a good day. See you soon with more reviews coming away.